to take us live because this is the blue go live button is itching. Click, and we will keep working on George. And we're live. It is Wednesday, August 10th, 2022, 5:10 p.m. We are 10 minutes late because our guest is running late and we're having trouble bringing him on screen. George, I don't know if you can hear me, um, but if you can, you should refresh your screen uh, and uh, and accept the prompt to come on screen. So I am going to uh, just say refresh your screen, George, and I'm going to text it to you too. Refresh your browser. Um, and then I'm going to try to invite you on screen again. It's one of those days where we're not allowed to have fun anymore. We are allowed, however, to have more fun than Donald Trump is because Donald Trump's house has been raided by the FBI
Do we
and
think he's not having some fun with it? Come on.
GDF's house has not been raided by the FBI and Kate Klonick's house has not been raided by the FBI. My house has not been raided by the FBI, and let's find out whether anybody in the audience has your house been raided by the FBI this week?
You don't
Question
have
mark.
to answer this. Fifth
Yes.
Amendment rights.
No. Plead the fifth. And we should not use the word raided. Plead.
Yeah, didn't you do a whole thing about that?
Have you had a warrant served on your premises?
Yeah, exactly. Hello.
Yeah, exactly.
There he is.
Hi.
We got
There
you.
he is.
I'm sorry. It
We
took.
got you.
Yes, I had. I think the FBI just left a mess on my desk, and I couldn't figure out where the cables were to make.
All
this
right.
work.
So we are
Hello?
going.
Can you hear me?
So
We can. The trick is that we can hear ourselves through your system. So I'm going to keep you muted when you're not talking, or rather, you keep yourself muted when you're not talking, if that's okay.
when you're not talking, if that's okay.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna put on a headset. How's that?
Brilliant. So, look, it is a good day. I just want to point out that the polls only 9% of the audience says their house has been searched by the FBI this week. I think those are 9% people are lying. I don't think any of our people has had the FBI in their house this week. But for those of you who have, remember, don't talk to them without your attorney present. And if you need an attorney, call George. He's pretty free these days. He's got time on his hands now that he's not at Wachtell anymore. George, welcome back to the show.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
So, first question: has your house had a search warrant executed by the FBI against it recently?
I explained to you. That's why I was late. The FBI totally messed up the cables on my desk, and I couldn't figure out how to plug in. But,
Yeah, they're bad that way.
they really are.
No, they're not. They don't do tidiness. They're not. And did they leave you?
No, but they ordered a lot of pizzas. They ordered a lot of pizzas.
And tell me, George,
I'll tell
did
you.
they leave you a detailed inventory of everything they'd taken?
Yeah, here it is. It's right here.
And that inventory,
No, actually,
are you free to release it if you want?
Sure. But why
Right,
would I
so-
do that?
Yeah. So rather than calling on
not
Merrick
to kill
Garland,
myself.
did they open your safe?
Well, I mean, you know, I'm busier than Merrick Garland. I have a dog to take care of. So, who's here? Oh, anyway, so no, but there was my neighbor next door is what's that Russian guy's name? They don't let him back in the country.
Yeah, Deripaska.
Deripaska, yeah, he owns the house next door.
Yeah, the FBI
so-
searched it, right?
Yeah, a few months ago, and I started texting Peter Strzok about it, and he said, "I dare you to order some pizzas and bring them over to the guys."
So did you?
And I thought about it. No, I didn't really have the gumption to do it, but he said it would be really funny.
You
I
could have
tried
said
to
these
get-
are from Pete's truck.
I tried to give the Secret
Yeah.
Service some pizzas once when we were doing a special military operation outside the Russian.
No, they won't
embassy.
take it. They won't take it, right?
But they wouldn't take it. They were very appreciative.
Pete said they would even that the pizzas might. I had a chance with pizzas with the FBI. I don't know why. I think it's a search warrant thing. It must be in the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure.
So
you told me I could bring this along?
The
yeah,
Federal
you go-
Rules of Criminal Pizza.
All right, so
Um,
let's talk about your vodka. What are you drinking?
Vodka is. How come I can't see myself? I just see a.
You
I don't know.
should be able
You,
to.
you know what you look
I can
like,
see you.
George. Yeah.
Okay, all right. This is
That's
a
vodka?
bottle of. It is pepper vodka, which is a
Ooh.
specialty of an independent and strong country called Ukraine. So you can see the thing on here. It's called Nemirov, made somewhere in western Ukraine, maybe Lviv. I don't know. I have to look that up. I think it's also called Horilka. We don't have a Vinman on here, so I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. And it's vodka, and it has a honey pepper flavor to it, and it packs a punch.
Honey pepper? Like, so it's
Honey
like
pepper.
It's got a little bit of spicy and it's sweet. I wonder
It's
if I
little
can eat this.
sweet and spicy, and it is very, very good. It is really, really. I highly recommend it.
Have you ever made a
Bill-
Bloody Mary with it?
No, I have not. I think it's like unconstitutional in Ukraine to mix it with anything.
That I would believe.
Pretty sure. Yeah.
And you have, I think, some Russian. Is that right?
No, not at all.
No.
No.
Okay,
I don't know where you
because
get that idea.
I don't know. You
That's
have
misinformation.
you have a little bit of Sovietology in you.
Oh, that's because I'm old and I lived through the Cold War.
Okay, but you don't actually speak any Russian.
No, yeah. I'm very good at Google. I'm very good at Google Translate, though.
You're good at Google
And
Translate. Yeah, Google Translate's
I'm
getting
excellent
good
at that.
with Russian.
It's not bad. You have to take precautions with it. You have to, you transliterate it back 2 or 3 times to make sure it sticks, and you have a higher probability of having it right.
It has
So
a
translate it back and forth, and if it goes back and forth the same way 3 times, you probably have a reasonable approximation of what it's supposed to be.
So, what did you make of yesterday's or 2 days ago's festivities?
I can't remember what happened 2 days ago, right? I mean, I can't. Today was Fifth Amendment Day, right?
Today was Fifth Amendment Day. Yesterday
Yesterday
was
was
the whole Republican world exploding day.
okay,
and-
Monday
Wait,
was
why
search
did it
warrant day
explode?
because
Because
it
of
was the
search
day
warrant
after
day.
search warrant day.
Okay, but
I
then
can't-
2 days ago was search warrant day.
search warrant day, but it was like late in the evening, so it was kind of spilt over the next day.
Yeah.
Originally, it started to be toilet day.
Right.
Monday started off being toilet and Hitler oath day, and we thought that was a pretty interesting day.
Wait, was that the
To start-
generals? The Atlantic
Yes.
generals
It's
piece?
been
right.
right. Monday morning was
Wait, what was the toilet
Oh.
thing?
Maggie Haberman has pictures of ripped up Trump notes in toilets, and that was on Axios. And so it's like by noon, it was like, oh, we had a week full of news. This is so much excitement. Toilets, Nazis, and I thought, oh, I wanted a nice quiet week, and here we are going to be talking about toilets and Nazis all week. And then
Yeah,
at 6 o'clock, search warrant.
So we
And
were
yesterday
talking
was all
about
search
this.
warrant.
We were
It's just
talking
like,
about
I
this
can't-
beforehand. That like
Yeah.
the New York Times and a bunch of other places had like what a big week this was for Biden. All of these wins for Biden, and now no
Biden?
one's talking about that. No one's
Biden?
talking about it.
Who's
Yeah.
Biden? Oh, you mean Dark
no,
Brandon.
Brandon?
Dark
Yes.
Brandon.
Dark Brand.
who became quickly overshadowed by Dark Merrick.
So
Basically.
what do you
So
make?
I vaguely remember some of the stuff that happened this week.
What
Has
do you,
anything happened in the 15 minutes since we've been on?
I think the New York Times or somebody has confirmed that the Perry search warrant is related to the uh, uh, fake electors or Pence scheme.
Cool.
I'll drop a link in the chat.
Cool.
So what do you think? Is this is this an effort just to recover documents, or are we looking at an indictment?
I think we're looking at something very serious and charged. I mean, they would not. I was having a discussion with some people of this. You would not use a search warrant to retrieve government property. You would sue in federal district court to get a civil court order to retrieve those documents. The only reason why you use a search warrant is because you are gathering evidence for criminal prosecution. It's like, say you robbed the bank, you wouldn't, and you had the money with the exploded dye in your bedroom, and the cops came with a search warrant. They wouldn't be doing that to give it back to the bank.
Although
right? They'd be doing that to prosecute you.
Pete Strzok does say that in cases of recovery of classified material, you only use either a consensual search or a search warrant. Because
I was hearing some different stuff. I was hearing differently today. That's interesting.
Like, really?
But I mean, I guess though you can, it's like no, it's not like they're going to ever get it back. But somebody, I mean, I was hearing today from some relatively reliable people that's not the normal way. When they're trying to get stuff back, they just sue you and get it back. But I mean, Pete knows more than all of us combined. So
I don't know. I don't think Pete knows how this plays out against a former president of the United States. I don't think
Pete knew about pizzas, so I wrote on everything. Yeah.
So do you read? I mean, I look at this and I say there is no way Merrick Garland lets this happen if the end game is going to be embarrassing to the Justice Department.
No, that's right. I mean, I think that's right. I mean, you're basically you're really sticking your neck out there. So you have to be pretty convinced that you're going to charge somebody. All right, this is somebody committed a real crime here, and you've got them pretty close to dead to right. It might not be Trump. Okay, let's not get. I want to be careful not to overset expectations here. It might not be Trump. It could be somebody around him who made false representations to the government about what was returned and not returned. Because that's clearly what it seems to be about, is that they withheld, they gave 15 boxes back, but they went through it and they kept some stuff. And there may be, and Trump's story is going to be boxes. I'm just out playing golf, and he's going to pretend to have nothing to do with it unless somebody says that Donald told me not to give this stuff back, or if his fingerprints are on the boxes or something like that. So,
or if the Bureau people had direct contact with him, or in the course of their contacts with people at Mar-a-Lago, if people were checking with him. I mean, this is something that the National Archive and the Bureau people have been engaging directly with them over for months now. There may be firsthand, engagements with Trump or with people who were then engaging with Trump. Whoops, we have lost George.
I was just texting you, Ben, because I think it would be really helpful if we just kind of walked through all of the things that this could possibly be, from like least bad to Trump to like most bad. Like least bad for Trump would definitely be like just getting back these classified documents, right? That would be like a big like raspberry to everyone, right?
And didn't he also, though, stiffen the penalty for like mishandling classified documents and turned it into a felony after the Hillary Clinton situation?
Correct. He signed the law that made that a felony. So yeah, the least bad scenario for Trump is that this is an administrative matter that has a criminal investigation that's sort of a little bit pro forma, like the Clinton email thing. They need to retrieve the material, so they use the search warrant to do that. But
I just don't think if they just wanted to get the stuff back, if they wanted to get the stuff back, you're not gonna. I mean, maybe they do that to Ben. Okay, I mean, if they're gonna do it, they're gonna get Ben documents back from Ben. They'll just send the FBI at 6:00 in the morning. But to Trump, with knowing all of the ramifications politically,
I agree.
You would if you had a problem with Trump and you just wanted to get the documents back, what you would do would be you would file an action in the United States District Court for presumably the Southern District of Florida, and seek an order from a United States District Judge.
You would call the lawyers at Mar-a-Lago and say, hey, we are prepared to issue a search warrant. If you don't let us come and collect the stuff voluntarily, we can do this completely discreetly, but we need access and we need all the remaining material.
And that's something you would consider doing if you didn't think you were dealing with some kind of bunch of criminals or something.
Can I ask a question? How do we know that didn't occur? Because we're dealing with an individual who has an obstructionist nature, who also has flagrantly dismissed subpoenas, has made every investigation a problem. So we don't know what happened behind the scenes. I mean,
but that stuff could have happened before. But what we know is that they eventually went and got a search warrant and showed up and executed a search warrant.
Right.
I also feel like he would have mentioned in all of his ramblings, and like equivalent of live tweeting on his like personal stationery, that like anything that had happened before this, or maybe not, but anyways, I just think I agree. I think this is the least. I don't think this is super likely, but it would be the least bad if it was the outcome. It would be like a big like nothing sandwich, like,
and then they'd be able to take advantage of it. Trump would say, look at what they did to me.
Exactly.
They violated my home is my castle, and they violated my castle, and whatever.
My golf resort hotel is my castle.
Send me $20. Send me $50, and I'll send you this red hat.
The big wine.
So
what's the second bet? What is the second worst thing, or like what's the next step up that it could possibly be?
Well, I think that's the next one would be like, all right, it was really about document retrieval, but there is a criminal dimension to it, but it's kind of secondary and it's going to peter out because eventually all there is here is retention of classified material. It's a case you could make, but it's not the case you're going to build around a former president. You're not actually going to indict this case.
And the counter to that is there were 15 boxes. Some of the material was top secret, and the kind of material that would go into the West Wing, and in particular to the office of the President of the United States, who then apparently might have taken them up to the private residence in boxes, which he then shipped out. This is going to be really serious, very potentially. I mean, this is the most secret stuff you're going to ever see. So,
I mean, it's above top secret clearance.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's got to be. I mean,
I had top secret clearance. It's like that. Like, can't possibly be that.
So okay. So, what is the like?
This stuff was so secret, they said, that they couldn't even prepare a list of the stuff that wasn't secret, that wasn't classified.
Wow.
That's how classified the stuff was.
All right.
Yeah, I
So
wonder if
let's
this is sitting in a SCIF
I mean,
for the DOJ right now.
so let's talk about.
It's kind of like the privilege logs some people did in civil litigation.
So let's irresponsibly speculate about what
only
this
lawyers get that joke.
what this really is. I got what you. So
I'm talking about out there. I know you get all legal jokes. I know that.
So here's my question: what kind of material from the White House would Trump want to spirit away to Mar-a-Lago in somewhere between 20 and 30 boxes? Is it material that has financial implications? Is it material that's, compromising to somebody? What's the category of classified material that Trump would want to keep?
That's an amazing thing, because since he didn't actually read anything, they say, other than Kim Jong-un's letters, how would he actually know what? And since he's barely literate to start with, how would that's his best defense? I don't know what was in those documents. I can't read anything. I don't read anything. It's a mystery why he would do this. It's absolutely a mystery why he would do it. Other than there was just all sorts of stuff mixed together. He was busy trying to overthrow the Constitution, and he didn't have time to sort it all out.
That's a heck of a defense too.
Yeah,
I was really busy
right.
trying to overturn the election.
I was busy doing my coup, and I didn't have time to look at this stuff. I thought it was just Melania's bras.
I mean,
you do have a very funny little Abbott and Costello vibe happening right now. Slightly disturbing. I'm not gonna lie. How naturally you fall into it.
That
wasn't offensive, was it? No, I wasn't offensive.
All right, go ahead.
Maybe Melania's raincoat.
No, but just the criminal implication, criminal incompetence aside, to Ben's previous question, I mean, you do think that this is a businessman in quotes, and it would be information that he'd be willing to trade, and you'd also think that the sensitivity surrounding it and the way that it's being sought after means that it's probably still pertinent. And this is, again, rampant speculation, but what would a former disgraced, criminally incompetent individual need but an escape plan?
Yeah, whatever he wants. I mean, he's doing it for. Well, here's my theory. Let me take a step back. He can, he's the biggest narcissist on planet Earth. Okay, the biggest narcissist we've ever seen in American public life. L'état, c'est moi. Okay, he doesn't distinguish between himself and everything belongs to him. The United States government belongs to him. He's still entitled to the United States government. Okay, it's I have Article 2 and I can do whatever I want. So his view was, this is my stuff. It's in my boxes, in my house, and that I'm being unfairly thrown out of by these evil people who fraudulently stole the election from me, and therefore I'm taking my stuff. And then when some crazy librarian, some dumbass nerd loser librarian in Washington, losers. Think of how big a loser is an archivist. That's got to be the biggest loser on the planet. These people, they pay with paper and books. What do? They don't build walls or skyscrapers. They're certainly not me, Donald Trump. So, fuck them.
Okay, so I buy that as a psychological explanation for it, but it doesn't answer the question of, all right, so now you're Chris Wray and Merrick Garland and Lisa Monaco. You're serious, non-narcissistic people, and you have to run an investigation. You also have to deal with the political fallout from the investigation, and you decide that this stuff is important enough to execute a search warrant against a former president over. And so I'm thinking about what the overlap between the Venn diagram of what you just described psychologically for him and from their point of view, that's important enough to go into, to go in there for. And I can think of a number of possible explanations, but one of them involves your next door neighbor. That is, he is obsessed. Yeah, he's over there. He's right now. He's sanctioned.
Nobody's over there. Actually,
yeah, it's really quiet. We could like move.
They're not even mowing the grass.
We could seize it by adverse possession. Just kind of move in. So, look, one possibility is that we know the thing that he was completely obsessed with his entire presidency was the Russia collusion hoax. And we know that he hoarded a bunch of material related to that, intending to declassify it. And so my question is it possible that what this stuff is a whole lot of intel related to Russia?
Could be. That's not crazy.
Kate's shaking her head.
I don't think that that's what it is. I don't know. I think this is not related to Russia. I think this is either related to his taxes, or I think this is related to maybe it's related to Russia. I think it's related to financial documents, or possibly like the final stages. I don't know, like any type of, I don't know.
His financial documents aren't going to be classified.
That is true. His financial documents but like, yeah, I don't know. Why do you think Russia though, Ben? Like what makes you think that like he would have something that he couldn't like?
He is obsessed with the injustice of the Russia investigation. He is obsessed. Why are you burning papers in your trash can, George? Okay.
He doesn't have a toilet in the room.
Oh, it's a candle. It's not. You're not actually destroying.
I'm innocent.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm innocent.
I thought there was like some a bad.
It's like incense.
It's a hysterical joke.
I get it. I
did think that there was a moment in which like that was also what was happening, and I was
yeah,
like,
there was a preemptive.
Very nervous.
There was a
look. I don't have a toilet back here.
A prima facie obstruction case going on here. So. Look, we know he's obsessed with the injustice done him by these investigations. We know he had Ratcliffe and company assemble this material, intending to declassify it. And so I'm thinking, what kind of material would he want to hoard that the intelligence community would really want back? And it seems to me stuff about Russia and Ukraine is like high on that list. Now, could it also be shit from Ukraine about Joe and Hunter Biden? Sure, but I don't think that material really exists. And
he would have gotten that from Rudy Giuliani and probably wouldn't have been stamped.
And so I'm just thinking George's next door neighbor, where we know there's material, we know he cares about it, we know, yeah, just keep an eye out there, George, for them.
Hold on.
You never know when he's going to show up.
Yeah.
This is live coverage of George unveiling the house of Oleg Deripaska, Russian oligarch. There it is. There's
he has
the
a tree house.
There's
a wall.
There's the.
Now, if I go up to my daughter's rooms, you can actually look down and see the swimming pool. And so one day, I saw guys with FBI jackets walking around there, and that's when the press gathered out there.
So
anyway.
President Ilves raises a different possibility, which is the translator's notes from Helsinki. We could also say the actual transcripts of the calls with Zelensky, right? There's a series of, John Bolton has talked about conversations with Xi in which he, asked Xi for help digging dirt on the Bidens. I mean, there's that.
You just distracted me. You just distracted me. But President Ilves, I just can't get over the fact that the President Ilves follows me on Twitter.
Well, let's bring him on. President Ilves stays up late at night in Estonia in order to watch you on. So let's bring him in and introduce you guys.
Can I ask a really
dumb
question?
God.
Can I ask a question? are these like the only copies of these classified documents? That's what I think is like.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter though. Why would it matter?
No. Well, like, why would it matter if he takes the documents related to him having some type of conversation with? It's like he's not hiding the documents. He wants them for some other purpose, like his own selfish purposes. So, like, what kind of documents would be useful for him to have that, like, exist elsewhere in the world or like elsewhere in like the United States, and like that it is useful for him to have a copy of, right? Like, this is not like he is going to take the documents about Russia, Ben, and hide them away in Mar-a-Lago, and then like they are not going to exist anymore. Am I wrong?
Yeah, you may be wrong. There may be, first of all, there are some documents that are presidential records and only presidential records. And if the president wants the only record of a conversation with a foreign leader to be in his possession, that is doable. And so, yeah, I mean, it is Tomas is right that there was only one person present at that Helsinki conversation, and it was the translator, and we don't know what was said between Putin and Trump, and I think it's completely plausible that is one of the matters at issue. Tomas.
I'm going to cede my spot to Thomas. It was great to see you, George. And I will talk to you guys soon.
Okay.
Bye, Tomas.
Bye. Hi. Well, you're one of my heroes, George. So
I can't believe this. Like former president of Estonia. Although I will say this, maybe I'll get in trouble for this. I have a crush on the current president of Estonia.
Yeah, well, so do a lot of people. But she's the prime minister, not the president.
Oh, prime minister. You're right, prime minister. I get. You know,
yeah, get your Estonian constitutional offices straight.
Estonian
We're a parliamentary democracy.
You're right. Okay.
Most in Europe. Okay, I mean, just why I said what I did was, first of all, the only information were the translator's notes. Those were immediately grabbed by Trump when the meeting was over, which meant that, I mean, barring, bugging by the U.S.'s side, people don't know what went on. The other data point for me is the look of Donald Trump leaving that meeting, where it's like there's a picture of him next to Putin. He's like this. I mean, like he's been just wiped out with some kind of incredible threat, which immediately made me think of compromat, or sort of, something Putin has on him, in a way that, I mean, I've never seen a picture of him like that anywhere else, completely devastated. So I put those two together. There's no information on the U.S. side of what was said, and his look. You go like, well, this will come out someday. Well, maybe that's why I thought that what is really in there, which is like, code level or whatever it's called, but Ne plus ultra or something. But it's a level of classification they can't even talk about.
So I don't know if this is the right theory or the wrong theory, but I agree very much that there is some aggravating factor here that we don't know that pushes a Merrick Garland and a Chris Wray. Chris Wray is the most gun-shy person in Washington. And and these people go from no way, no how, we're doing everything completely by the book, got it right, to like execute a search warrant against the former president's house and club. There's some factor here that whether it's that or something else, that's got to be pretty extreme.
Well, yes. That's the most extreme thing I could think of.
Well, there's the nuclear football. Maybe he took it with him.
Yeah, but they disconnect the nuclear football like at noon exactly, right? There were two footballs on January 20th, and one follows the new president around, and it gets turned on at exactly noon, and then the other football becomes, deflated.
So,
so to
Tomas,
speak.
how is this playing in Europe? Are people excited as excited about this as a sporting event as we are?
No, I think people are far more consumed with Russia, Ukraine, uh, Germany. Uh, I mean, this is kind of like, well, I mean, as we know, no one really likes Trump in Europe, so it's kind of like, but it's not.
Yeah,
like,
but they're terrified that he might the possibility of him coming back.
Well, that is true, but I mean, there is anything that somehow weakens him is something that people like, but it's at least it's not. I mean, it's not the dominant news story the way it is obviously in the U.S. On the other hand, how much does the U.S. press carry about Schultz's policies? Zero. So I mean, yeah, but I mean, it is followed.
We got a lot of Boers for a while. You know, toward the end there, we got a lot of Boers.
Johnson.
Yeah, but that's because we kind of consider the UK part of us.
I guess.
Yeah, and besides, he's the European version of Trump. I mean, it's all theatric, right. So it plays well, right?
Right.
Yeah, although we don't fully understand it.
One of the things that has been very frustrating is even though this is an unprecedented action, it's still within the law, and it's just reiterating that no man in the United States is above the law. And so the different bad takes that have been coming out, particularly on Twitter, have been highly entertaining and also very concerning because a lot of people who don't understand the law are picking those up. So do any of you have a favorite bad take?
Yeah, my favorite bad take is that a conviction under this, I forget the number of the statute, Ben probably remembers it, the one that says that you're going to be, that you're going to be disqualified from holding public office. I cannot believe that would apply to the presidency because, the Constitution sets forth the requirements for the presidency, and I don't see how Congress can add or detract from that by statute. And and the Supreme Court decided in Powell against McCormick with Congressman Adam Clayton Powell when they refused to seat him in, I guess, what it was, 1969 or whenever, that they said that basically the requirements for being a member of Congress are set forth in the Constitution, and Congress can't stop somebody from being seated on that, by adding some requirement that they not be a scumbag.
But seems to me that's a bad technical law reading take. Whereas there's this other category of bad takes that we have going on right now, which I think is the category that GDF was referring to, although she can correct me if I'm wrong, that, a lot of people seem to be saying that Trump actually is above the law. And, there's a lot of Republicans who are out there saying it's outrageous that they would execute a search warrant against Mar-a-Lago. They have no fucking idea what's in the search warrant application. They have no idea, what there's probable cause to believe. They just take the position that, the FBI has turned into the Gestapo. And I do think there's a quality of that that's like,
yeah. I don't consider that a legal take. It's not reasoned. It's not a legal take. It's just simply a narcissistic assertion of my guy's good and your guy is bad, and you're good. I mean, I'm good, you're bad, and whatever you do is bad. And our guy is good, and whatever you do to him is bad. And if the shoe is on the other foot, there's absolutely no. It's not the mirror image. It's like we're doing the right thing because we're enforcing the law. I don't view it as a legal thing. It's just I view it as just a purely narcissistic, very, it's just a complete, it's just total politicization of everything. I don't know any other way to put it.
Matteo Caraba, aka the Marquis de Caraba. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Ben. I'm wondering what you make of the recent, I don't know exactly how verified it is, information that the FBI may have had an informant from Mar-a-Lago. In particular, I wonder whether this means like a waiter who saw a bunch of boxes with stamps that say property of NARA or if this means like Jared got cold feet about whatever was going on in there.
Now that would be a dynasty level drama.
Yeah, I just want to say this story comes from Newsweek, which has become an increasingly disreputable news source. That said, strikes me as totally plausible. The FBI has a lot of basis ability to lean on people, and I'm not sure why.
And your typical affidavit search warrant says that we spoke with confidential informant one, and he told us that so and so did so and hid stuff in the basement, and that's why we think the stuff's in the basement. I don't know. I mean, that's not unusual. So
right.
Can I ask one very brief question? Is there anything that would prevent Trump from disseminating the contents? I forget what it's technically called, but the list they give after the warrant has been executed of saying what they took?
Yeah,
the only thing would be if it's classified. I think that's the only thing. If it's classified,
they have to give an inventory of what they took. The level of vagueness may be inflected by the degree of classification. So normally you would itemize the documents. If you can't itemize the documents because to name them would require that you release classified information, you might say 327 pages of highly classified material, blah, 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 right?
Yeah, and it could be that the attachment to the search warrant containing, and he might not necessarily receive this, I don't know, I'd have to ask, containing the list of things to be searched for could itself be classified. That's entirely possible.
Tony Cava, you are invisible, but the floor is yours.
Hey, howdy, everyone. I've got a serious question on topic and a jokey, funny question. Which would you prefer, George?
The jokey question, of course.
You can do both. You can do both.
Okay, we'll start with jokey.
I like jokey.
Okay, we'll start with jokey. Everyone knows that dachshunds are the best short-legged dogs, but you have corgis are okay too, and you happen to own a corgi, and he or she is. And I was kind of hoping. Here she is. If you could tell us your favorite corgi story, and also go ahead.
Favorite corgi story.
Yeah.
All right. Favorite corgi story was my wife when we were dating had a corgi. That's how I got interested in corgis, and she, a few years later, I mean, she survived for a number of years, right, until our first kids were born, and her name was Jessie, and she looks pretty much like Bonnie here, very similar. Kind of got that same kind of face and and the ears. And Jessie could not resist car rides. She loved going for rides in the car. In fact, one of the first times I walked her, there was somebody getting into a taxi, and Jessie bolted for the taxi to get into the taxi, and I had to pull with all my might. But every so often, she'd just jump in. I went out to get the car at my mother-in-law's house, get something out of the back seat of our car, and Jessie jumped in. And the problem is when Jessie jumps in the car, you can't get her out. And you'd go and you'd reach, and she'd growl, she'd snap, and she meant it. And sometimes I'd chance it and I'd grab her or I'd get her from behind. But this time I just didn't have the energy to do it. And she was getting really nasty. She just was like, I'm going for a ride. And literally she took a little bite out of me. So I went inside the house, got the keys to the car, started up the car, backed out of the driveway, and drove around the block of my mother-in-law's house. And then parked again, opened the car door, and she jumps right out. Like perfectly satisfied with the 2.5-minute ride around the block.
She likes her
very procedure. Classic corgi story. Yes, it's like, I got my ride, you've done your job, I'm happy and I'm proud, and you served me appropriately. And they do like service. They do.
All right, Tony. Your second question.
Okay. Hey, so George, like President Hendricks was saying, maybe we'll all bet on what the contents of the safe was. But my money is on either information about GOP elite that he was hoping that implicates him in 1/6, that he was hoping to use to blackmail people and keep them in line, or alternately, he and his son-in-law were hoping to sell top secret information. It might have actually been in the middle of that. Are either of those plausible?
You know, I mean, I couldn't put anything past Donald Trump. All right. I mean, but that's, you know, that he would try to sell these. I don't know. It's just too sophisticated for Donald Trump in a way. You know, he sells, you know, he sells bad steaks, bad wine, stupid hats. It doesn't strike me as something he'd do. It's just not. It's not lowbrow enough. I don't know any other way to put it. And it would require a degree of planning that he's just not capable of. So, no. So I just don't think that's the motive. I could be wrong. What do you think, Bonnie?
Charles, what's your question?
So I guess my question is, Peter Strzok gave a long laundry list of why, and we talked about it earlier, of why the FBI doesn't use a warrant to retrieve TSSCI material, or doesn't use a subpoena, rather, to retrieve TSSCI material. Is another reason possibly that they would have to reveal the contents of said material in a subpoena?
No.
Or like reference to it? I mean,
so I've talked to Pete about this at some length yesterday, and I think the explanation from his point of view is that if you issue a subpoena, first of all, Donald Trump is not going to personally respond to the subpoena, right? He's not cleared anymore. So he's not allowed to see this classified material, but his support staff at Mar-a-Lago is certainly not cleared. So when you deliver a subpoena, you're requiring all sorts of non-cleared people to review classified material and figure out whether it's responsive to the request. You're also requiring Trump, who is no longer cleared, to refamiliarize himself with the material, refresh information that he's not entitled to. And so the Bureau prefers, as a general matter, and Pete was unsure actually whether this was policy or just practice, but you know, the overwhelming preference when you're dealing with highly sensitive material is to do it by search. Now, the search can be consensual, as in, you know, I'm sure for example, when they did the David Petraeus thing, there wasn't a search warrant executed. He just let them in, right? So it doesn't have to be a search warrant execution, but it's not going to be, at least if the purpose is document retrieval, it's not going to be, according to Pete anyway, a subpoena issuance. But I don't think it's because you have to describe the material in the subpoena itself. I think it's because of who has to handle the material, and also whether you want to trust somebody who has absconded with large amounts of classified material to be responsible for identifying it and returning it, or whether you want trusted people to do that themselves.
On the other hand, that's what they had when they got the first 15 boxes back, right? I mean, people were handling the documents who weren't entitled to handling documents, didn't have the proper security clearances, and couldn't be trusted.
But that was an interaction between the archives and the
Yep.
FBI issues a subpoena, or the Justice Department issues a subpoena to the National Archive. It doesn't issue one to Mar-a-Lago and to Trump. So look, this is not an area of law or practice I know well. I have heard Andrew Weissman make very much the same argument that George made, and Andrew's done a lot of this stuff. And I've heard Pete say, no, that's wrong. It's done this way. I can recite either argument, but I don't know which percentage of the time which side of this argument is correct.
Yeah, the big X factor here is this guy was president, and that's not usually the case with people who take classified material home.
Right. So that is also, that's the huge difference. But the interesting thing about that is it's not clear which direction that cuts, right? So does it cut in the direction of being more deferential, or does it cut in the direction of, oh my God, he's president, he stole the this and the that and the blank, and then he returned 15 boxes, but it wasn't complete. He's still holding on to the yada, yada, yada. Oh my God, we got to get it, and we got to get it ourselves, right? And I can see, depending on the agency's interactions with him, I can see that really cutting in either direction. All right, so Tomas Ilves has a brilliant proposal for a pool on this subject.
All right.
So Tomas, give us your proposal, and then we're going to figure out how to implement it.
The proviso is that you probably won't know for another year and a half or two.
Well, we'll know when the indictment comes out.
But it's merely that I propose that everyone who wants to participate gives his or her idea of what is that document. I mean, I propose that it was the Helsinki Notes. There have been lots of other ones. And then eventually we'll find out. And then everyone has to kick in $5 or euros. And, well, I mean, whoever wins, wins. And then you can donate the money to whoever
we can make it a
you
currency. Want. We can make it a currency bet too.
Yeah, I mean, and right, because we don't know which is going to be more valuable by then, the euro or the dollar. They're basically at parity now.
Yeah, well, they've been more or less. It's not that big a deal. 10 cents one way or the other.
All right. So if you want in on this, email me.
Can I ask an informational question?
Yeah.
Whatever did happen, did he get those notes? Did he ask for those notes? Whatever happened to the notes of the translator?
Those he took. He took it away from. He took them away from the. He personally took them from the translator.
So here is what we're going to do. If you want in on this bet, email me at benjamin.wittes@gmail.com with your proposal. I will not enter this, so I can be an impartial judge. By sending me such an email, you are pledging $5 or euros, currency of your choice, to the winner. When the contents of the material is released, I will adjudicate. I will not collect any money until there is actually a prize to award. We will do a show in which we evaluate all the entries and we award the money, and then we will bill you for
what? That's not the way this is supposed to work.
For your part in the poll. So that's what's going to happen. We're going to call
this like a Trumpian profit-making machine theory.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it all.
Is this a grift?
It's totally
Trumpian.
Not going towards
totally
the wall.
Appropriate.
Not a single dollar of it will be spent on building the wall, exactly like Steve Bannon.
I know what you're going to do. You're going to say it's going to be going to sunflowers.
It is all going to be going to sunflowers. By the way, speaking of sunflowers, I want to give a shout out to the neighbors of the Russian embassy on Wisconsin Avenue, who have just kicked ass this week. The Russians or somebody in the neighborhood painted Z's on their fence. They turned them all into Zelensky's. There's been destruction of sunflowers. The neighbors have been fabulous. So big shout out to Connor.
You sent a picture
Sarah.
Of that earlier.
Yeah, to Connor and Sarah and all the other folks on that block of Wisconsin Avenue. We are going to leave it there. George Conway, Tomas Ilves, you're both great Americans and great Estonians.
And Bonnie, don't forget Bonnie.
Oh, Bonnie.
And Bonnie, who's a great corgi and expects appropriate service. And we're going to be back on Friday. I have no idea who the guest is going to be, but and we have no idea who's going to be indicted by then. But we'll be back.
Yes, 48 hours.
Your corgi really looks like a fella.
Yeah. Yeah, we got to do.
Thinks she's human.
We got to do.
We got to do a special dog episode.
I think we got to do a show on the fellas.
NAFO.
NAFO, yeah, they're awesome. And that'll be 46 hours and 55 minutes from now. And until then, GDF.
We don't have fun anymore, but in lieu of fun, we have toilets and top secret information and properly executed warrants and a law that protects the people and some bets on top secret information.
Yeah, and just so that you know, when the flush toilet was invented by Thomas Crapper, and yes, it really was invented by Thomas Crapper, he was thinking of how to dispose of classified information when it becomes inconvenient.
Wait, I actually want to redo that. We don't have fun anymore, but in lieu of fun, we have plumbers.
Yes. See you guys later. Go to bed, Thomas.